Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Storytime. Thank you for joining me today. Happy Wednesday to you. Yes, thank you so much for being here. And as I was coming on today, I was just thinking like, well, what is my little victory for today? And today, my small victory is that I'm able to fit in this shirt again. So it's good to be back. It's good. Went through some rough times in the pandemic, but definitely feels good. I was squeezing myself into this one today, but thank you so much for joining in. And yes, little victories. What is your little victory today? What is that little thing that you're celebrating about your amazing life? Thank you so much for being here on Storytime with me today. I am excited to be here as always. Happy Wednesday. Yes, 3 days into my summer break and enjoying it very much. Thank you for being here with me and welcome. I hope that you are having a wonderful week and, of course, a wonderful day today as well. Thank you so much for being here. And please look forward after the reading today. Lydia Yamaguchi will be here talking about some of these books and why they are special to her. So please do join us for that conversation and let us see what other memories that you also have to share about books in your lives. And I have one special share as well that I will be sharing later on, of course. So please do stick around for that. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful time. And as always, please let me know, where are you joining us from and who is joining in with you today? Absolutely wonderful to be here. Not taking it for granted. An absolute pleasure, and thank you for your time. Good morning to you and welcome to Storytime. And yes, we are reading today. We have a very, very powerful book indeed. Lovely book, Sky Sweeper. I'm sure most of you already know this one. It is written by PHILLIS GERSHATOR and the pictures by HOLLY MEADE. So I hope you're ready for this one. And of course, it is published by FARRAR, STRAUS, and GIROUX, an imprint of Macmillan Press. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm glad you're here to join us for this wonderful book. And of course, big thank you to Macmillan, FARRAR, STRAUS, GIROUX for the permission to read this book right here on Storytime. Thank you so much for being here. And I am glad you're with us. Sky Sweeper. What is it about? Please do stick around and find out. Thank you for being here. Good morning to you and welcome, welcome. And of course, please do stay around as well for that conversation with Lydia Yamaguchi. Yes, Storytime's own Lydia Yamaguchi will be here right after the reading to talk about some of the books that we've been reading this week. Very special books indeed. As you know, we've been reading books with Japanese influence and talking about Japanese experiences as well. Japanese and Japanese American experiences. So please do stick around. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning to you. Amanda West, how are you doing today? Good to see you on Storytime. And Sarah and Nathan, how are you doing today in cloudy Chicago? I hope you're well. Lovely that you're here with us. Good morning to you and welcome to Storytime. Or is it good afternoon on that end? Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love it. And good morning to you, Carrie. And of course, Lomani Lee out in Sacramento. Hopefully today, Sacramento is not hot. Hopefully it is nice and cool. Thank you so much for joining in, Carrie. And of course, Lomani Lee Lee, how are you doing today? Thank you for being here on Storytime. I absolutely appreciate you. Good morning to you, Ellen Edwards, and you're saying, and partly sunny in Chicago. Well, enjoy those bits of sun. Thank you so much for being here, Ellen Edwards, for being our sunshine here on Storytime. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Storytime. Good morning to you, Terry Kasweka, and of course, Abraham. And you're saying the sun just came out. Awesome. I can see here out in Oakland too, where I am, at least, it's nice and sunny. So hopefully it stays that way. A bit of clouds out and about, but absolutely wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for sharing all those weather updates where you are. Thank you for being here. Good morning to you, Abraham, and of course, good morning, Terry Kastrek. And you say, my victory is at Abraham, let me sleep in. Oh, that is wonderful. Abraham, nice job there. Thank you so much for sharing that one. Please, I hope that sets you off beautifully on a wonderful day today. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, indeed. What is your little victory today? What is that little thing that you are enjoying and celebrating? Thank you so much. Joy Yamaguchi, good morning to you, joining us from Long Beach. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely loving it that you're here with us today. And of course, looking forward to you coming on Storytime tomorrow. But of course, today we have Lydia, and I am with you on that one, Joy. Excited about that visit this morning. Amanda, how are you doing today? Good to see you. Baby Beer in Seattle. How are you doing? Asleep, but Nate, you're here. Good morning to you, Nate. Absolutely love it. Oh, thank you so much for joining in. Nate, I hope you're well, my brother. Good to see you here. As you can see, that puts a big smile on my face. Thank you so much for joining in. And Amanda, and of course, I will try and whisper, Baby Beer, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us out in Seattle. Thank you so much for being here. Missed you yesterday. I'm glad you're here today. Lydia, troublemaker, how are you doing today? Good morning to you, Veronica Nunez, and how are you doing, Benicio, out in sunny OC. Please help me. What's OC? I am blanking out right here. Sunny morning in OC, Oklahoma City. Help me out. Ocean City. Thank you so much for joining in, and welcome to Storytime. Benicio and of course Veronica, thank you so much for being here on Storytime. Absolutely love it. And we have a great book to share together today, Sky Sweeper. So I hope you're ready for this one. Oh yes, thank you. Benicio, do forgive me. I was absolutely blanking today. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Jen Veda, our local librarian, absolutely appreciate you. Jen Veda to the rescue. Thank you so much. Well, welcome, Benicio. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. And Veronica in Orange County. Trust me, I will not be forgetting that one anytime soon. Thank you so much. And Jennifer Vedder, of course, joining us from Oakland. Yes, indeed, the town. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. And I hope you're ready for this wonderful story that we have for you today. And of course, the wonderful conversation that awaits with Lydia Yamaguchi after the reading today. And good morning to you, Miss Ingrid. Hello. How are you doing? You're saying it's freezing cold out in Patagonia, minus 11 degrees today. Oh my goodness. Oh, holidays are great. I'm enjoying my first week of summer break. I hope you can stay warm. Please do keep warm. And thank you for being here with us today. Absolutely enjoy that you're here with us, Miss Ingrid. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, the cold out in Patagonia. I know where not to go right now. Thank you so much for being here. All right, let us get started with our book for today. And we have Sky Sweeper. And this one is by PHILLIS GERSHATOR and pictures by HOLLY MEADE. And of course, we're reading this one with permission of FARRAR, STRAUS, GIROUX. And of course, they're an imprint of Macmillan Publishing. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you're ready for this wonderful, wonderful story, Sky Sweeper. I hope you learned something from it. I absolutely did in preparing for this. And so let us see how much you enjoy it. Yes. Sky Sweeper. Sky Sweeper, PHILLIS GERSHATOR, pictures by Holly Meade, and of course being read with permission of FARRAR, STRAUS, and GIROUX, an imprint of Macmillan Publishers. Young Takeboki needed a job, and the monks in the temple needed a flower keeper. It was the flower keeper's job to sweep up the springtime plum and cherry blossoms in the temple garden. Takeboki swept up all the fallen flowers, but when spring passed into summer, no one told him to stop sweeping. He swept through the summer, fall, and winter too, and then it was spring again. One year went by, and another, and his parents said, "Son, you're getting too old to be a flower keeper. Why don't you look for a better job? There is no future in sweeping." "I am happy sweeping," he told his parents, though he thought it might be nice to have a more important sounding job. But he knew what he knew. The monks needed a temple. The temple needs a garden, and the garden needs a flower keeper. My job does have a future, he thought. I sweep in every season, and every season follows the one before. Takeboki's older brother asked, "Why don't you find a job like mine? Someday I will own my own shop. I will make a lot of money and visit faraway places." "I am happy sweeping," Takeboki said, though he often thought of faraway places. But he knew what he knew. The monks need a temple. The temple needs a garden, and the garden needs a flower keeper. "I do go places," he told his brother. "Mysterious islands, deep dark pine forests, snow-covered volcanoes, all here in one small garden." In the summertime, Takeboki raked straight lines in the sand and curved lines in the gravel. "Does the sand remind you of the sea?" he asked one of the monks. "Doesn't the gravel around the rocks remind you of water swirling around on ocean reef? If I place one flower on this sandy sea, the petals will drift in the breeze like boats sailing away." The monk said nothing. He was thinking his own thoughts and paid no attention to the flower keeper. Takeboki never spoke again of the many worlds he saw when he looked at the garden, but he kept creating them. When Takeboki got a little older, his sister said, "Why don't you look for a wife? There will be nobody left to marry by the time you get around to it." "I am happy sweeping," he said, though he admired the ladies in their brightly colored kimonos. It would be nice to hold someone's soft hand in my own, he thought. Maybe I will get around to hand-holding one day. But he knew what he knew. The monks need a temple. The temple needs a garden, and the garden needs a flower keeper. "It's spring again," he reminded his sister. "Time to sweep up the cherry blossoms and tend to the peonies, the loveliest ladies in the garden." When he got still older, his neighbor said, "Takeboki, look at you. You look like a beggar." "I look like a beggar," he said, "but I am rich. It's autumn again, and I have more gold than I can carry." Takeboki swept up the golden leaves piled on the pathways. Once the paths were spotless, he left behind a single leaf, marking the change of seasons with one last reminder of fall. When he was very old and his back was bent, the gossips talked among themselves. Poor old Takeboki, one said. He must be sorry he was only a flower keeper all his life, another agreed. He never had a good job. He never married or had children. All he did was sweep, sweep, sweep. And he says he's happy. Takeboki heard what the gossip said. But he knew what he knew. The monks need a temple. The temple needs a garden, and the garden needs a flower keeper. As long as his legs carried him to work, he was happy. A year passed, and the flower keeper grew too old and sick to go to work. At first, the monks didn't even realize he was gone. Then in the summer, sticks littered the sand. In the fall, leaves piled up on the ground. In the winter, snow hid the stone paths. And in the spring, fallen blossoms turned to muddy carpets. Where is the flower keeper? The monks asked one another. Where was Takeboki? I believe, said the most eminent monk, that the flower keeper accomplished more than we realized. Our garden was famous for its perfection. Have you noticed how few people visit the temple these days? I myself do not study and pray with the same peace of mind. We must find the flower keeper. We need him. The monks made their way to the poor section of town where small wooden houses pressed against one another. There they found Takeboki's dwelling. Inside, the old flower keeper lay on his head. Are we too late? Cried the monks. Yes, said the most eminent monk. I am afraid we are. We are too late to tell the flower keeper how much we need him. Now he's gone. But look, he has a smile on his face. Remember the Buddha's simple truth? A single flower says more than words. Our flower keeper never heard us say the words, thank you for what you have given us. But he heard the flowers, and now, like the Buddha, he smiles. Takeboki had left this world, but he entered a new one, a radiant land without end. And to his great delight, a golden rake appeared in his right hand and a silver broom in his left. Lifting the precious tools to his shoulder, he turned to look in each of the four directions. Where shall I begin? He asked. In the south, Takeboki swept clouds into billowing mountains and shifting, drifting wisps of white. In the west, he raked clouds through the day's last rays. How fiery the setting sun. In the north, he swept shimmering curtains across the sky. How bright the dark of night. In the east, he swept mist over the moon's face. How full the hidden moon. Takeboki smiled again, knowing what he knew. In the temple garden, the new flower keeper rakes and sweeps and smiles too. A fallen blossom returns to the branch. A butterfly. By Moritake. The end. Thank you so much for joining me for story time today. I hope you enjoyed that book, The Sky Sweeper. Yes, indeed. And I hope I just wanted to highlight this part too, with just where the eminent monk speaks and says, I'm afraid we are. The question was, are we too late? I'm afraid we are. We're too late to tell the flower keeper how much we need him. And I just hope that out there we show our gratitude to the people around us, our neighbors, our friends, everybody. Let us tell people, thank you. Let us tell them while they're still here on earth with us, tell them, thank you so much. We appreciate what we do. And I think that was one of the silver linings of the pandemic. I think people appreciated more what others do and what others bring to our lives. And I hope that continues, that people do always show gratitude and appreciation for all the things that people bring, for each one's qualities, celebrate each one's qualities. So we really appreciate that so much. And I appreciate it, and just wanted to highlight that part. And of course, to all the people that do jobs that at times we may not celebrate as much, or may not appreciate as much, but just going every day we go through our motions without thinking about them much. But I want us to take that moment to think about it and say thank you and appreciate everybody that is around us. So thank you so much for joining me today. But please don't go away. I have Lydia Yamaguchi joining me today, talking a little bit more about the stories that we've been reading this week. Lydia, welcome.
Good morning.
Yes. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I think my small victory for today is that I was up and ready for the day and ready for this. So.
Yeah, no, awesome. That is great. I mean, I know this one is new to you, right? The Sky Sweeper.
Yes, this one is new to me, but I love it.
Yeah, no, it's a great book indeed. But also, you know, like we've read this week, we're reading this one tomorrow, of course. So please do join in for that one. The Bracelet. We're reading that one, and then we've had that one, Rise and Shine, Mariko-chan, and then of course we had Jojo Fu. So Lydia, you know, like where are these books from?
These books are, well, many of them are from our family's collection, the ones that we grew up, the books that we grew up reading. So shout out to Joy, my sibling, who's in the chat on Facebook, hyping us up. But yeah, these are books that, so I mean, I grew up in a family that loved books and stories very much. I think that's apparent from the way that I still relate to books now. Yeah. And even before I could read to myself, I was read to a lot. And I think that also I was gifted books. So if you look, I think it's in the cover of the one to the bracelet, or maybe Jojofu. I think that was a gift from a person who was in the church congregation that we grew up in down in Long Beach in Southern California. Oh. So it's also, I feel like that's just such a testament to like how wonderful books can be. I feel like in some ways, like story time feels like a way to give that gift to people too, right? It's like we might not be giving physical books, but we can share these stories, and people can go back and rewatch a lot of them too. And so I think like these books feel special, like for the fact that they're some of them are from a long time ago. Some of them are new favorites, like the Sky Sweeper. Like that one's amazing. And just a reminder of the way that community kind of can support us as kids, and then the kids in our lives as well. Yeah, learning different stories about different parts of the world.
No, that's so true. I feel like you're touching on it already, but I was going to ask is like, why did you feel that others needed to learn about these stories? Because you've been talking about them a while, and I'm glad that we finally got them on story times.
I know. We got to do these books.
Yes, all the gentle reminders.
For sure. I mean, I think that these books feel like a special part of growing up. I think because they present different facets of different cultures, so like representing different parts of Japanese American culture and also Japanese culture. And I think that these books, and a lot of books, but especially some of these, feel really formative in my ideas of like seeing myself reflected in literature and learning about a culture that I wasn't necessarily growing up like immersed in. Yeah, so I feel like both just the nostalgia factor, but also I think that like on story time we value the telling of different stories and the representing of different narratives and of different kinds of characters and different experiences. And so, you know, gotta like lean on it a little bit and see how different parts of my experience could be represented in that too. Also, just as a reminder that like there's ways to do like that. Hopefully we can all find that in different books in different ways. Right. And also shout out to all those people who don't feel like they're being represented in books right now. Like, you should go write a book. Like, someone else wants to hear your experience.
Yeah, and also just saying too, like, you know, if there are any that you know out there that represent your community, please let us know about them. Send us a message, send us, you know, on Instagram or Facebook or however you can get a hold of us. Please send us those messages. Let us know, because we definitely want voices represented here on Storytime and cultures as well. Yeah, so thanks for that.
Yes, you can do what I do.
Yes, no, keep pushing, keep pushing. One day we'll read them. Well, also, you know, like just thinking too, like for books, like for me, I've loved books since I was a kid, and my favorite book in the house I grew up in was, we had this Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. It was this thing.
Oh my god!
I loved that book. I would go in learning words, and you know, like, and then also tracing all the different animals, because they'll describe something and then they'll put a picture of it on some of the pages. So I was there tracing those things, you know, like using all the tracing paper and stuff. And that was something that, it was a book that I treasured so much. And to date, I still value it, you know, like, and I remember it was this green hardcover book. So, you know, like, how are the memories for you? And there was something else that I wanted to share as well. Just, let me see if I have those. One, you see how my love for books has followed me in my life. Let me see if I can get this one for you. I think this is the one. So if you look at that picture, right, you see me, I'm the one in the white shirt. I'm the one here. But you can see I'm holding that magazine, right? Like, I was holding that book, and I don't know why I felt like, and picture day, of course, was in those days, picture day was special. You dressed up, you made sure you looked your best. So like you can see there, I'm in my, you know, my Sunday best. And then you had I had that magazine. I remember that magazine particularly because that's where I learned to read the word tongue. And I remember for the longest time, I would say tongue you. I would say tongue you all the time. Tongue you, tongue you, tongue you.
I used to say chows instead of chaos.
And then one day, you know, like one day I was like, wait a second. I heard somebody read the same cover and they said, oh, fire in the tongue. I was like, oh, so that is tongue. And so it was just one of those words for me. One of the ways like books were always around me, whether magazines and so on. And so, but for you, Lydia, like what are some lessons that you've carried on in your life, or some lessons that you're still learning, or some lessons that were refreshers today from reading these books?
Yeah, there's so many words that I feel like I read before I read before I said, and then found out that I was saying them all kinds of ways. And yes, Jen Better, apparently that is what we are telling you to do. Tell us what you want. For sure. Yeah, I mean, lessons from books. I think there's just there's so many stories out there. I think that the value in being able to experience different ones, learn from different perspectives, like go places that I've never been before, like even Japan. Like I hadn't been to Japan until 2 years ago. And so I grew up very much immersed in sort of a Japanese American community, which is its own amazing, like there's so much depth and complexity to that. But like a lot of my very early learning about what Japanese culture was came through books and came through story, even more so than like movies or TV shows or anything like that. A lot of it was books, and then, you know, hearing more like community stories and things like that. So I think and I also think that I will say another funny thing I think is that when I was in second grade, the age of students that Mr. Lamada had this past year, like I wasn't that into reading. It wasn't until like the end of second grade, maybe into third, fourth grade, that I started realizing what I could access if I was reading books, like realizing where I could go and who I could meet and what I could learn through that. And I think that was really when it kind of hooked me. And I also think that like one of the things that I love about the books that we're reading this week is that they're really showing so many different aspects of family life and stories. So like the Rise and Good Morning Mariko-chan, like the Rise and Shine Mariko-chan, like that one felt really special because I grew up being called Mi-chan by my parents, based on my middle name, and that like that's not really in that many books. So shout out to Jen Vetter for helping bring that into English so that those of us who don't speak Japanese can experience it too. But like that, you know, it's like those sorts, or even like having food that's like arranged in a certain way on the family table. Like having different books where the grandma's called Obachan, which is like what we call our grandma. Like learning about family history, like the book that we're reading tomorrow, that's directly related to what my grandparents went through during World War II when they were unjustly incarcerated, and seeing that there's not just one children's book about that too. Like there are other ones. So like shout out to like Fred Korematsu Stands Up is a recent one that we talked about during the social justice children's holiday book back in December. But there's lots of different.
You're brave for trying to say that.
I know. There's so many different experiences within those particular experiences, and so being able to both see some of my own experience reflected and learn about other experiences feels really special. Same with like Thank You Very Mochi. Like I didn't grow up with that book, but as soon as I read it, I was like, oh my god, like this is like this is it. And I also feel like with that one, it's like we're talking about one family's food tradition, but like we just read Ruby's Reunion Day Dinner, and in some ways that's like a very similar story. It's like a child finding their place in these family traditions. So which I love all that. So.
And also, you know, you talk about family traditions and you know, well, similarities of course across cultures, but also just how important are books in passing down those cultures, those traditions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think they're so important because it's something that you can share, even if like you're not if someone can't physically be there to be the one like telling that story, it's a way to record it and a way for it to be shared with other people who might not have that firsthand experience. But yeah, I feel like books are just a special way to archive things and to like capture some of those memories. And they lend an importance, you know, like we live in a world, I think especially in sort of like Western or like more sort of like post-industrial revolution world where more people can read, more people can access books. And so to have like a physical item, like we put importance in physical items, and so to have like a physical thing that you can be like this is here, I feel like that gives it in a society where we give that importance. Like we might as well give that importance to things that we care about, to traditions that are important to us. So
I appreciate too, because you talked about representation. You've talked about, you know, like those memories from childhood following with you through these books, but also the excitement that you talked about in reading Thank You Very Much, and seeing how, you know, how you felt, and just me imagining that for the little kids out there, for the young kids, both the ones that see themselves in those stories or can relate to those stories, or the ones that are learning about other cultures. So I just see all these worlds coming together. And Amanda Wortman, if you're still here, I know that you had mentioned how Chan for you has been used with Marlin with her sensei, and I thought that was pretty cool. So to think of how all these, you know, like as we are interacting in our worlds, it just shows that we're all one, and how these books just help us weave through that, because I'm learning that right now. And it's something that, you know, you're never too old to learn. So yeah, Lydia, you know, like before I let you go, just wanted to know, like, is there something extra that you would like people to know about books that we're reading this week, or even just, you know, where they can access a bit more information on stuff? And I know that tomorrow's book will cover a lot more, and of course, they will bring so much information. But just from you, what is it, something extra that you would want people to know?
Yeah. We'll come back tomorrow, come back Friday. And keep going back after that. Yeah, well, I mean, I just want people to know that these are special to me, and hopefully a way to learn and appreciate for others too. I mean, I think shout out to the fact that the Storytime community is amazing and always is embracing these books and loves them. And so I think it feels like a really safe space to introduce things that are special to people. Like I feel like we've seen that with the different authors and creators that have been able to come on too. Like this is a really welcoming space to be able to have people come and like experience books. So like, thank you to people for that.
Yeah.
I think I would just say, like, keep exploring more. Like there's more books this week. There's other books about different parts of Japanese and Japanese American experiences. Like know that these cultures are also more than just like sushi restaurants and things like that. But again, I think that it's I also think that just as far as like a pitch for seeing ourselves represented in different ways, like in some ways I think Japanese American culture has privileges because it is a little more visible, especially in the context of California, where we at least are right now, and in the United States, where there's enough people who have some of those experiences that there's ways to access that. Like I was thinking about with the Skysweeper, like if you are ever in a place that has like a Japantown, or that has a temple, or that has a space that has some of these gardens that are based on the traditions that are mentioned in the book, it is possible to go to physical spaces where there are people keeping gardens in that way, doing the different arrangements of the stones and the rocks and the nature. Like there are ways to access that. So I guess that's another shout out too, is like find ways to kind of bring these books to life and see if there's ways you can like go out in the world and do that. Like there's a few places in the Bay Area to do that, and LA, but I know there's a lot of other places as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I was thinking of, this is maybe a little bit off topic, but I was thinking about how like Marcus Rashford from Manchester United, that like didn't start reading until a lot later, and I feel like that's like we were talking about that this past weekend, but that's really stuck with me, that it's really not ever too late to start pursuing books and what that can unlock for you. So like I think that's really amazing that there are these people who are really big figures in the world, like they're famous, and there's also sharing about their journeys with learning and all of that. Yes, shout out to Japantowns. You should definitely check out Japantown in San Francisco, and especially Little Tokyo in Los Angeles, which is the one that I grew up in, and the one that Joy, my sibling, is super engaged with, and I'm sure there'll be more about that tomorrow.
That's I feel like that Marcus Rashford story, for real. It was amazing to see that he's like, I was 17 or something when he started, when he was introduced to his first book where he actually read. And I thought that was pretty cool. And also that it was his therapist that introduced it to him. So we're introduced to so many books in so many different ways. And honestly, this one too, the Skysweeper, was introduced to me by Marietta out in Harvard. And thank you to you and Henry, of course, But yeah, they introduced me to this book, and as soon as I got it, I was like, yes, this is such a lovely book. And that's how we learn that. We keep growing those. And like Jen Veda said, please keep bothering us with your recommendations. send them, and we will do our very best to make sure that we get them here. For as long as permissions allow, we will absolutely be reading here on Storytime. Yeah. So, well, Lydia, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for allowing me to nudge you into having.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome. Sometimes that's the only way you get things done. Just keep pushing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll. Well, another thing I wanted to add related to the story in the Sky Sweeper. Yes, definitely reminding us to be grateful to the people who care for the environment. And also, I think like some of the things that caught me are around people who like how people just want to be recognized, like for what they're doing, for what they are, whatever it is. You know, it's not even necessarily that people need like a parade and a giant fanfare and whatever, but just like for people to recognize and be grateful for how people are a part of making things special or beautiful or happen in some way. I thought that was a really special thing that talked about in the book, and also that there's different ways of recognition, right? Like the Sky Sweeper ultimately isn't just basing it off of like external validation, but really finds that like within himself. So both like let's appreciate people, and let's like find ways that we can kind of find that appreciation within ourselves too.
Oh, so, absolutely.
I appreciate you. I appreciate me. I appreciate
No, absolutely. And you know, like just thinking of that, the author's note is also offers great insight into what her thoughts were as she was putting this book together. And one of the things she says is like the artistry of Japanese gardens, the traditional job of flower keeper, and the idea that honest work has value, recognized or not, inspired this tale of Takeboki. You know, and so to just think about that, and I hope that for that powerful message which you've also talked about, I hope we are not waiting until it's too late to say thank you. It doesn't cost us anything. We say thank you. It makes the person feel good, and it makes them feel that their work is appreciated. I know how I feel, and I feel like my work is appreciated. And honestly, I'm lucky to work at a place like Emerson, where I feel like the team is so together, and you just feel loved and appreciated all the time. And I hope that that will be true for everybody out there who's doing all the different things that you're doing. And so, yeah, I just want to really highlight that. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it looks like Joy's put in the comments a couple of places in the LA area that people can visit some gardens. Yes, for sure. Support your local Little Tokyo. Support your local Japantown. Support your local Asian community centers in general. Especially in this moment, but just in general, support cultural centers in general. Like those are really special places. For sure. Like these are places to build community and keep up those traditions, and give them some money, give them some time.
No, absolutely. And also just, you know, like that's the only way too that we are then learning each other's culture. We are interweaving and, you know, like intertwined as we are doing those things, visiting those places. Then we get to see how things are done and how people operate, what, you know, like, and we become better people ourselves. So it's I absolutely hear you on that. Like in that exchange of knowledge, we understand, we know more about each other, and I think greater appreciation comes with that, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, we should do a story time. Can we do a story time Obon crossover? Obon is I'm not gonna do the best at explaining it, but Obon is a season / events that happen in the summer in Japan and in Japanese, like sort of the
just
Japanese
to make sure that I don't say no.
where it's a sort of a summer celebration. I I mean, I don't know how the pandemic will affect Obon season this year or not, but one of these days we'll get back out I will be back out in the world doing that eventually.
Yeah, to enjoy. Well, thank you so much, Lydia.
Yeah. We gotta figure out. We gotta find the Zambian cultural center. Gotta start one of those.
Yeah, no, there aren't too many of us. So that was rare, but yeah. Well,
okay, Joyce got more of an explanation. Obon celebrates your ancestors through festival and ceremony and gathering and dance. That.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you for saving me from this.
Thank you. Well, Lydia, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you, and of course, all the work that you do in the background for Storytime. Appreciate that. And to everybody that was joining in Storytime today, I hope you enjoyed that wonderful story that we had for you, Sky Sweeper. And then tomorrow we are back with the bracelet. So do join us for that one tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And I will have special guests coming through, Joy and Nina. I am excited for them coming here and sharing experiences and of course their vast knowledge on what we'll be reading about. So I'm very excited for that one. Please do join me tomorrow for more story time, and of course the amazing guests that we have. Do look out for them later on. But thank you everybody that joined in and for your contributions. Always appreciate you. You make story time what it is. So appreciating you all the time, and I do not take this time for granted. Each and every one of you, I wish you a lovely day, beautiful day indeed. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll be back tomorrow with more story time. Please take care, follow health guidelines as they are in your area, and of course, remember too that every little thing that you do, every little thing counts. It is important, and let's make sure that this world is just, not just for us, but for everybody in our communities as well. So thank you so much. Lydia, you had something before we go.
Oh, I just found this is a picture that I have that's right by where I'm sitting right now. But this is my Ji-chan who went through some of the experiences that are talked about in the book tomorrow. Picture, but I had it literally right here. So
right there.
As a teaser. These are the two, both grandparents. This is my Bachan who also went through some of the experiences that get talked about in the book, the bracelet tomorrow. Yeah. So just to put a couple more faces to that, special hard times, but beautiful ones. And also I feel like you had like wrapped it up so nicely, but I just wanted to have that.
Thank you, Lydia. Always appreciate you. All right. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. To everybody out there, kisses to each one of you. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a lovely day.
Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Story time. Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be